Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Drones, thermal cameras with artificial intelligence, sensors along a 16-foot wall topped with barbed wire. These high-tech deterrents are being used to stop the crush of illegal immigrants flooding across the border. But which border is it? Not the U.S. border. But where is this happening? CBN's Chuck Holton brings us this first-hand look.
Greek beaches are back open for business after a brutal year without tourists. But tens of thousands of migrants are also crossing into Greece from Turkey. As numbers rise, the crush puts a big strain on countries like this. One primary entry route is here, along the northeast border with Turkey. Last year, border guards faced off as Turkish military vehicles attempted to tear down barriers to let migrants through.
Our main goal is to prevent migrants from entering the country illegally. To accomplish this, we use new and modern equipment.
This river divides Turkey from Greece, and the Greeks have had to get serious about trying to stop the flow of migration coming across this, just like the United States has had to do along the Rio Grande. That's because migrants have been just overwhelming this border region, and so the Greeks are building a fence that's very similar to the one on the U.S. southern border. This one's 5 meters tall and topped with barbed wire, and it is making a big difference, they say, along with some of the other high-tech measures that Greece is employing here along their border.
These measures include drones, thermal cameras equipped with artificial intelligence, and sensors along the new border wall. If those don't work, Greek police use sound cannons to chase away migrants.
We have a clear pre-border picture with these new systems, and we're ready to direct our forces accordingly in the field, in areas where a mass entry might be attempted. With systems like the sound cannon and armored vehicles, we can prevent illegal entry. At the same time, the fence is being constructed in the areas where we had the biggest problem, and automated surveillance systems will provide us with more ways to deal with this threat.
These investments come none too soon. Locals are fed up with the constant stream of migrants coming through their backyards, and they blame Turkey.
The Turks are always aggressive. They're never willing to compromise. We're always on the lookout around here, and we must defend ourselves. Now, we're more optimistic. We wanted this wall to be built because we needed it.
The European Union is pouring billions of dollars into slowing the flood, building out a new border force to augment local police with officers and equipment. While that may sound expensive, the EU sees it as cheaper than an open borders policy.
Greece is committed to protecting its borders, which are also the borders of the European Union, while always ensuring full respect for human rights.
Well, Chuck Holton joins us now. Chuck, what about this weaponization of migrants by Turkey against Greece? What is Erdogan trying to accomplish, do you think?
Well, Pat, Greece and Turkey, Turkey is this all power politics, right? Turkey is expanding its influence around the entire area, from Syria through Armenia, all the way up into Greece. And what we're seeing is that this supposed NATO ally in Turkey really is becoming an adversary, not just to Greece, but to the United States. And I'll tell you this has not been reported yet, Pat. There are over 600 U.S. troops on the Greek border with Turkey conducting exercises with full armor. I'm talking tanks and everything that we saw while we were there. And I think they're doing it as a sort of a subtle sign to Turkey that they need to back off.
Well, how are the locals in the border region reacting to this flood of migrants?
The locals are obviously not happy, but they are in some cases taking matters into their own hands. We saw video of local farmers actually taking sprayers that they use to spray their crops and spraying migrants on the far side of the border to get them to go away. We've also talked to some locals who said that they've formed militias that have been going out at night and arresting migrants and detaining them and turning them over to police.
Well, Chuck, I don't quite understand it. These migrants, where are they coming from and where are they going? They aren't going to stay in Greece, are they?
No, they're not planning to stay in Greece. You have to understand, Pat, these are all economic migrants. People who say that they're fleeing war and oppression have already gone through many countries that don't have war and oppression in order to get to Greece. So you have Syrians, you have Iraqis, you have people from North Africa. And these people are going to the EU for the economic reasons, not for safety. So they all want to make it to either Norway or Germany or Sweden, because those have the best social policies that will pay them the most money to come. And Greece is having to deal with not allowing them to continue their journey, because they know that for every migrant who makes it to Germany, 3 or 4 more will replace them on the Greek border.
Chuck, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you think it's bad at our border, just realize we're not the only one, but the Greeks are taking necessary steps, and the Biden administration is not. And we're having a flood of millions, actually it's millions now, of people coming across our border because we've taken the fence down. We have no boundaries, and it's no longer catch and release. It's catch and bring them into the heartland of America, despite the fact they have COVID. Well, it's unbelievable. That's what Senator Joe Manchin said about Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell, both voting for the same thing, the infrastructure bill. So why is Schumer in such a rush to get the deal done? And why is McConnell telling him to slow down? CBN's White House correspondent Eric Phillips has more. Here's Eric.
Well, Pat, by all accounts, it was a long, painstaking process for bipartisan legislators to get to this 2,700-page document that is now on the Senate floor. Now the next process has begun, that of the entire body scrutinizing the bill and agreeing on what amendments need to be made.
The bipartisan infrastructure bill is designed to bring our infrastructure up to date for a new century, and that is a significant achievement.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer introduced the bill to the floor late Sunday night, a move receiving rare praise from members of both parties.
We will continue to once again demonstrate to our country and to the world that we can indeed do our jobs, that we can legislate, that we can work together.
No new taxes, core infrastructure only, and it's great for the American people.
The bill's price tag, $1.1 trillion, with $550 billion in new spending, $110 billion earmarked for roads and bridges, $39 billion for public transportation, and $65 billion to expand broadband internet. When it comes to the Senate body backing the bill, there's a sense of optimism.
And you think it will pass?
I do. Oh, absolutely. I do. And you see Chuck Schumer and you see Mitch McConnell both voting for the same thing. It's unbelievable.
I believe the Senate can quickly process relevant amendments and pass this bill in a matter of days.
At the same time, some members of the GOP are insisting that this not be rushed.
It's going to pass. The bill will pass. It's not even a question at this point. Yes, there's going to be an amendment process, and what day will they wrap up? All of that, yada, yada, yada. Bottom line is it will pass, because you don't get this far in Washington in Congress, and Chuck Schumer would never put the bill on the floor if he didn't have the votes.
Our full consideration of this bill must not be choked off by any artificial timetable that our Democratic colleagues may have penciled out for political purposes. While I salute the hard work of my colleagues who produced the base text that's now before us, their conversations can't be the Senate's last word.
One surprise that could affect the vote, Pat. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has tested positive for COVID despite being vaccinated. And while he describes his symptoms as mild, he will be quarantined for the next 10 days.
Eric, the thing that people are worried about is that this particular bill, which seems so benign and so popular, is actually like a Trojan horse to bringing that much larger bill that they're trying to put in with the Christmas tree for everybody, including a lot of tax increases. Tell us about what you know about that one.
Well, Pat, what you've got is two pieces of legislation that are separate but are certainly linked. They're working together. You've got the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which we just talked about, the $1.1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, which deals with roads, bridges, transportation, broadband, those types of things. But then you've also got what's working its way through the Senate right now, the $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation bill. That is something that Democrats have put together, and it's something that Democrats can pass on their own without the help of Republicans. Now, that has not happened yet. Here's the rub, though. Democrats in the House are saying in order for them to vote for this infrastructure bill, they want to see that $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill introduced on the House floor as well. They want to see both of them kind of coming together as a package deal. So even if and when the infrastructure bill does pass the Senate, as you heard great optimism being articulated in terms of the fact that it will, even if and when that happens, Nancy Pelosi, House Majority Leader Nancy Pelosi, has said she will not introduce that infrastructure bill on the House floor until the reconciliation bill is ready to be introduced as well, so that they can be companion legislations being introduced at the same time, and she can get the buy-in from progressives for the infrastructure bill on the House. So the two bills are very much linked together, although they're separate pieces of legislation. This is how the Biden administration has kind of had the architecture for this whole thing to work together, Pat.
Well, the one is a monstrosity that will destroy America. The other is a good thing. It's amazing. But let me ask you, what impact will it have on the administration if these progressives succeed in blocking this?
Well, if the infrastructure bill does not pass, it would be perceived as a failure. I would say a physical failure and a philosophical failure. Remember, the Biden administration, one of the hallmarks of it is bipartisan cooperation. It's something the president has talked about during his time in office. It's something he talked about on the campaign trail. It's something that's been a hallmark of his career. You hear him often referring to reaching across the aisle, being able to communicate well with his Republican friends. You know, a handshake should seal the deal. All those types of things that talk about bipartisan cooperation. If the infrastructure bill were to fail, despite the fact that it's got major buy-in, as you just heard, from both sides of the aisle, then that would be a complete failure, or certainly a massive failure for the Biden administration philosophically when they've talked so much about bipartisan cooperation. But then it would be a physical failure, because we've got cooperation and agreement on the fact that our infrastructure in terms of bridges, roads, and such need this upgrade. And if that bill failed, then those upgrades would have to wait.
Eric, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you, I think this thing is a Trojan horse, and I think that when they get to that reconciliation, they try to slip in $3.5 trillion of additional spending, and then they're going to couple that with tax increases. It will destroy the economy. And those that have got some sense ought to say, look, this sounds lovely, but we're not going to let it go through. And, well, let's take another news. A raging inferno out west, along with massive flooding. Well, what's the deal with this extreme weather? And what does it mean for the upcoming hurricane season? CBN's Jenna Browder joins us live with more. Here's Jenna.
Pat, at least 88 wildfires are burning out west, and this weekend alone, 35 new fires ignited in Oregon due to lightning. Take a look at this video. Lightning splitting this tree in half. The Gorman Fire in California spreading into the Los Angeles National Forest. Firefighters trying to get an upper hand on it from the ground and above. Meanwhile, the massive Dixie Fire continuing to rage in California, too, covering close to 400 square miles and destroying more than 40 homes and buildings. And then there's the flooding, Pat. Western monsoons creating massive flooding from New Mexico all the way to Montana. This week, President Biden met with governors from 7 western states and sounded the alarm about the need for more resources.
But we're in for a long fight yet this year, and the only way we're going to meet those challenges is by working together. Wildfires are a problem for all of us, and we have to stay closely coordinated.
And in addition to the fires and floods, people out west are experiencing dangerous heat waves. In Washington, they're seeing triple-digit temperatures this week. Of course, only made worse, Pat, by all of the smoke from the fires. Pat?
Jenna, given the extreme weather we've been seeing, I understand there's an updated report on our current hurricane season. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. Our friend Joe Bastardi at Weather Bell, Analytics, who you know well, sent out an updated forecast this week. While he's still predicting a high-impact hurricane season, Joe's lowering the number of predicted storms, hurricanes, and major hurricanes, forecasting that 2 to 4 hurricanes will make landfall in the U.S. this season, with 1 to 2 having a major impact. And for the month of August, he says, while there's always a chance the East Coast could get hit, the focus is really more on the Gulf of Mexico. Pat?
Thanks, Jenna. Ladies and gentlemen, you say, well, this is our weather, and if you don't like it, just hang around. There'll be something changing next week. This is a very serious situation. The drought in the Southwest has been just catastrophic. And Lake Mead and other sources of water are drying up, and it's going to be a tough thing. But we'll have to monitor it. But we're not, from the East Coast, we're not looking so much as hurricanes, but Joe Bastardi says they might come in through the Gulf. We're not sure.